Hi, am I audible, guys? Am I audible, guys? Type yes if I'm audible. Great, some responses coming in. Let me wait for another 30 seconds. Maybe some people are trying to join. If you're just joining in, please type yes so that I'll know that you are joining the session. Awesome, awesome. So let's see what is the agenda for today. So we're going to discuss a solid set from Venn diagrams, which also involves maximization and minimization. So it's a combination of Venn diagrams and maximization minimization. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 10 minutes to solve this question. If you are very confident with Venn diagrams, you can even solve this question within 8 minutes. So, but I'm going to give you 10 minutes. So you're going to take 10 minutes, try and solve these questions. Post the 10 minutes, we are going to discuss each one of these questions with the concepts involved. Okay. So your timer starts now. Please start solving this. We're going to have 10 minutes to solve this. Okay, so you can see the timer running. By the time it comes to 0, we're going to start discussing this. In case you happen to get your answers way before the time gets over, please ping in the chat so that I'll get to know how many of you are able to solve it well in advance. Those of you who joined late, we are taking around 10 minutes to solve those questions. So if you have joined late, you might have around 6 minutes from now. So try solving as many questions as possible from here. At the end of the timer, we're going to start discussing all the concepts involved and how to approach these questions. If you're getting the answer for any of the questions, you can put them in the chat box so that I'll know who is taking how much time. Great, some answers are coming in. Perfect. I think we can start with our discussion on this. So the basic funda is what we discussed in Venn diagrams, and there is a bit of maximization, minimization also involved in this question. So let's go through it one by one. First, let's understand certain things which are common to all questions. Let's go through this once. In a group of 180 students, each student opts for at least one of the three subjects among physics, chemistry, and math. Okay, first thing that I understand here, let me quickly clean my screen. Okay, the first thing I understand here is this is going to be a Venn diagrams question with three parameters, and the three parameters are physics, chemistry, and math. So let's put a Venn diagram. Let's say this is my Venn diagram. Let's mark it. Let this green one be physics, the blue circle, let it represent chemistry, and the red one, let it represent math. Okay, 180 students, so total, that is the value outside the box should be 180, which represents all the values that we're going to get inside the particular box. And it is given each student opts for at least one of the three subjects among physics, chemistry, and math, which means outside the three circles I'll have to put 0. Means there is nobody outside the three circles. All those 180 will have to come inside the three circles only. Just give me a minute. Okay, so all the values have to come inside the three circles only. Outside it is going to be 0. And it is also given the number of students who opt for at least two subjects is 100% more than the number of students who opt for exactly one subject. Okay, let's form some equations on the basis of this. Let C0 be the number of students who have opted for none of the subjects. Let C1 be the number of students who opted for exactly one. C2, number of students who opted for exactly 2, and C3 exactly 3. So C0 plus C1 plus C2 plus C3 should be equal to 180. Now that's in general for any Venn diagrams with three parameters. Now in this question we know that C0 is 0. There is nobody who is not opting for any of this. Everybody is opting for at least one of these subjects. So C0 is going to be 0 in that case. So it's basically C1 plus C2 plus C3 is equal to 180. And it is also given the number of students who opted for physics, chemistry, and math are 80, 120, 160. Let's fill that as well. Physics is 80. Chemistry is 120. And math is 160. Now I can also form a slightly modified form of this equation using this 80, 120, and 160. Now this is what I have discussed as reconciling equations in Venn diagrams discussions. So I can form an equation as 0 times of C0 plus 1 time of C1 plus 2 times of C2 plus 3 times of C3 is equal to 80 plus 120, 200 plus 160, 360. Now what this equation does is it helps you to reconcile why this 80 plus 120 plus 160 is more than 180. Now, why it is more than 180? Because there are certain people who might be counted under two of the subjects, so they are counted twice, one under 80, one under 120, or one under 120, one under 160, and so on. And the people whom I'm going to place here, the number of people that I'm going to place here, they're going to get counted under all three of them. So there is some double counting and triple counting happening here. So you'll have to account for that. Only then we can say why this 80 plus 120 plus 160 is more than 180. So that's what is happening here. Again, C0 is 0, so I'm going to get rid of this. So we have got two equations here. C1 plus C2 plus C3 is 180. 1 C1 plus 2 C2 plus 3 C3 is 360. Now let's take this information. It is given the number of students who opted for at least two subjects. Now what do you mean by at least two subjects? That's C2 and C3. This is at least two subjects. It is given the number of students who opted for at least two subjects is 100% more than the number of students who opted for exactly one subject. So C2 plus C3 is 100% more than C1. So instead of C2 and C3, I can probably write 2 times of C1. When a value is 100% more than the other value, it's going to be 2 times of the other value, right? So C2 plus C3, I can replace it as 2 times of C1. So now what happens to my first equation? 3 times of C1 is equal to 180, which means C1 is going to be 60. Okay, once you get C1 is equal to 60, you can replace that in both the equations, the first as well as the second. So let's do that. If I replace that in both the equations, then the equations that I'll be getting will be 60 plus, this is what the first equation will become, 60 plus C2 plus C3 is 180, or C2 plus C3 is 180 minus 60, 120. Let's say that's our equation 3. And this equation also will get modified. So I'll have to put 60 here. So it will become 2C2 plus 3C3 is 360 minus 60. 300, that's our equation 4. Now using equation 3 and equation 4, I can find out what is the value of C2 and C3 because these are two equations of two variables, right? So let's find out. If I multiply the first equation by 2, then it will become 2C2 plus 2C3 is equal to 240. Now I can do equation 4 minus equation 3. So C2 will get cancelled. I'll get C3 as 60. So C1 is 60, C3 is also 60. If you look at this equation, C1 plus C2 plus C3 is 180. So we can find out that C2 is also 60. So C1 is 60, C2 is 60, C3 is also 60. Please type 3 if you're clear with how we got these three, C1 60, C3 60 and C2 60. Okay, I'll have to try my best to not write behind my head. Certain things are not visible, but I hope there's very less behind what I have written, so you should be able to see that. Okay, now we are going to take these three things forward. Okay, these are the things that we're going to take forward into our discussion. So let me just put it here. So C360, I can directly put that here. This will become 60, right? C360 is going to come there. And C1 will be 60, C2 will be 60. Let me just put it here. C1 will be 60. C2 will also be 60. C360 I've directly put here. Now with that information, we can get into the questions and start solving the questions one by one. So let me get rid of whatever is there here, which is not necessary for us anymore. Great, we can move into the next. That is the first question for this. Okay, let's look at this question. What is the maximum possible number of students who opted for only math? So I'll have to maximize only math. So only math maximizing would mean I'll have to maximize this part. Right? I'll have to maximize this part. Now if you have to maximize this part, this is definitely 60. So I should try and minimize these two because whatever is going to come inside this is going to sum to 160. So how do I minimize these two? The initial thought is, okay, let's make it 0. That's the initial thought. Let's make it 0. So if I'm trying to make it 0, let's say this is 0 and this is 0. That's how I can try and maximize this. But we know that C2 is going to be 60, which means this area plus these two areas should come to 60. But is it possible for me to put 60 here if I make these two zeros? It's not possible, because inside the green circle I can have only 80. I already have 60. So the maximum I can give here is only 20. So if I'm going to give 20 here, right, if I'm going to give 20 there, that means that 80 required for the green circle is already over, right? So 20, 60, so this will become 0 in that case. So I cannot have 0 here. These are fixed now. These three are fixed now because I just satisfied what is there inside the green circle. So this cannot be 0 because C2 should be equal to 60. So 20 and 0, so this has to be 40. That's when 20 plus 40 plus 0, my C2 will become 60. So I cannot reduce it to 0 and 0. It's not possible for this constraints that we have got here. So this has to be at least 40. It cannot go below that. So 60 plus 40. Now if you look at what's happening with the blue circle, 60 plus 40, 100 plus 20, 120, that's also over. So it's going to be 0. So 60 plus 40, 100, the remaining of the 60 I can put here. Okay, so that is the maximum I can have for only math. So answer for this question will be 60. Please type 1 if you're clear with how we got the answer as option 1 for this question. If you want me to quickly repeat what we did, please type R. I would repeat what we did. If you think that it's not very clear. Okay, I'm quickly going to repeat what we did. So the initial thought process as to how we are going ahead with that. But I'm going to be a little quick this time because we have already seen this once, but I'm going to take you through the thought process once again. So the thought process is like this. We have to maximize this area. So I'm initially thinking of minimizing everything else inside the red circle, right? If I have to maximize this part, then I'm trying to minimize everything else. So my initial values that came to my mind are, okay, let's put 0 and 0 and see if that is possible. But when I put 0 and 0, that means I have to put 60 here. Why would I put 60 there? Because C2 should be 60. So sum of these three values should be equal to 60. But I cannot put 60 because the green circle has a limitation. The total of the green circle is only 80. So if I put 60, I can put a maximum of 20 there. And when I put that 20 and 60, that 80 is completed. So I can only put another 0 here, which means these are fixed. So 20, 0, I'll have to put at least 40 here to satisfy C2 becoming 60. So this will be minimum 40. When I put this as minimum 40, this is 100. So another 60 I can put here. That also satisfies the blue circle. Hence 60 is the answer for this question. So that was the way in which we proceeded. Let's move to the next question. Let me clear off everything that is put with respect to this question. Okay, let's move to the next one. What is the maximum possible number of students who opt for only chemistry? So only chemistry I'll have to maximize, which means this part I'll have to maximize. So this could be solved in a very similar fashion. So if you have to maximize this, the initial thought that comes to my mind is, okay, let's try and minimize everything else that is possible inside the blue circle. So I could probably put 0 here and 0 here. That would mean I'll have to put a 60 here because C2 should become 60. But if I try and put a 60 here, that will make P, the values inside the green circle, 120. So that's not possible. So I can only put a maximum of 20 here, right? So once I put a maximum of 20 here, then this and this will also become 0. These three are fixed. You cannot change that. So I have to make this 40 because C2 should become 60. So if I am going to make this 40, then this is going to be another 20, because I should get a sum of 120 inside the blue circle. We can quickly check whether it also satisfies the red circle. So how much have we got as of now? Inside the blue circle it is 120. 140 I have got, another 40 is left. If I put that another 40 here and once count the red circle, we are getting 100 plus 60. Everything is getting satisfied. So answer is 20 for this question. Please type 2 if everybody is clear with how we got answer as 20 for this question. Great. Now let's go to the third question. Let me clear off whatever is specific to this question. Okay, let's look at this. If the number of students opted for both math and chemistry is maximum possible. Number of students who opted for both math and chemistry is maximum possible. Okay, what's the maximum that I can have here? See, the value inside, the sum of values inside the blue circle, it has to come to 120, right? And if this is already 60, the maximum I can think of right now is to make this another 60. That's the maximum we can think of right now. But I'll have to see whether that is possible or not possible. So if I'm going to make this 60, then these two will immediately become 0, because inside the blue circle I cannot put any more values because already that 120 is satisfied. So if these two are becoming 0, and if this is 60, then this also will be 0, because my C260 got satisfied here itself. Right? So this is 0, this is 0, this is 60, which means this has to be 20. Okay, so now the green circle is completely satisfied, blue circle satisfied. Now let's look at a red circle. Red circle, 60 plus 60, 120 is over. I need 160, so I can put another 40. That satisfies the red circle. But does it also satisfy our 180? Let's quickly check. So inside the blue circle it is 120 plus 20 plus 40, 120 plus 60. It is satisfying this as well. It is satisfying everything. So the answer for what is the number of students who opt for only physics, it has to be 20. Now keep in mind, you have to first fix the maximizing condition before you can go ahead and start finding this value. So maximizing condition I have fixed first. It cannot be more than 120 because the value inside blue circle itself is only 120. So I tried for 60. I am able to satisfy this. So answer for this question is 20. Please type 3 if you are clear with the third question. Great. Let's move to the next question. Before that, let me clear off whatever is specific to this question. Okay, let's try this one. If for any subject the maximum and minimum possible number of students who opt for only that subject are P and Q. So for each subject I might have to find, right, maximum and minimum possible, P and Q. Then what is the maximum possible difference between P and Q? Okay, first let me see what could be the maximum and minimum, and we are looking for only that subject. Okay, if I want to look at P, physics, now that I've got the 60 inside, the minimum I can have here could be 0 if I'm going to get my 20 somewhere from here. So for P I can say it could be somewhere from 0, and maximum I can have here is only 20 because 60 has already come here. So for P it could be some value between 0 and 20. There could be more limitations, but I'm only looking at what value I have got in the center. On the basis of that, what I could have for only P. Similarly, if I'm going to look for only C, I've already got 60 here. So minimum could be 0 if I'm able to satisfy that 60 from somewhere here. And what could be the maximum? As I've already got 60, the maximum I can have here is another 60. So for chemistry, it looks like, I don't know whether it will actually happen, but it looks like at this point of time, it could be from 0 to 60. Now looking at math, as I've got 60, minimum could be 0 again I'll have to verify that. I'm just putting that blindly on the basis of this is 60, this is 160, so I can put 0. I'm just thinking probably it's possible. Let's find out. So 0 till maximum I can have here is 160 minus 60, 100. Now these are not final ranges. These are some ranges that I have put only on the basis of what values I have got outside and what value I have got in the center. Now we'll have to see whether these are actually possible or not based on the constraints that we have in the question. Okay. Now ideally I should find out P and Q, that is the small p and small q, the minimum and maximum for physics, minimum and maximum for chemistry, minimum and maximum for mathematics, and then see where the difference is maximum. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with mathematics. The reason I'm going to start with mathematics is, see, in mathematics, if I end up getting a range which is greater than 20, let's say in mathematics, I end up getting a range which is greater than 20. Now, there is no point trying for physics, right? Because physics maximum is going to be 20. So if I get a range more than 20, here there's no point trying for physics. Similarly, if I get a range more than 60, here there's no point trying for chemistry. So it will make a lot of sense to try for maths first than to go and try for physics. Because if you try for physics, even if I get 0 to 20, it's possible. That doesn't stop me from doing any of the future calculations. So it makes a lot of sense to do for math first, because that might give you some chance of eliminating one of the required calculations. So let's do for math first. Let's see whether the 0 and 100 that we blindly put are possible or not possible. Let's see. Okay, at this stage, is everyone following me as to how we got the 0 to 20, 0 to 60, 0 to 100? Please type 3 if you are following till here, how these values came. Just 180 minus 60 is 20, 120 minus 60 is 60, 160 minus 60 is 100. So I have put the upper values on the basis of that. Lower values I have just blindly put 0. We'll find out whether it's possible or not possible. Okay, so I'm going to start with math because that might help me to eliminate some of the calculations that are going to come later, like the smaller ones calculation. Okay, so is it possible to have 0 here? Let's see. So if I have to put 0 here, that means I should get my 160 completely from the 60 and these two places. Oh, that means I have to get 100 from these two places. It's not possible because C2 is only 60. So there is no way you're going to get 100 from these two places. The maximum you can get from these two places is 60, right? So the maximum sum you can get in this area is going to be 60 plus some of these two could be maximum 60. So 60 plus 60, there is maximum of 120 you can get from this area. So what is the minimum value I should have here? It cannot be 0. What is the minimum value I can have here? I'm looking for your responses. Those of you who are there in the live session. Minimum I should have here is 40. So the 0 that we put, it will never come. The minimum will be 40. So let me first modify the 0. Minimum is going to be 40. Now let's see, can I have a maximum of 100 here? Okay. So if I have 100 here, let's see what will happen, what kind of repercussions it will have. If I put 100 here, that would mean this 160 got satisfied with the 60 and 100 itself. So this will become 0, this will become 0. We go back to the old problem. I'll have to put a 60 here to satisfy C2 being 60. No, that's not possible. Why that's not possible? Because the green circle can only hold 80 within itself. Right? So I cannot put a 60 here. Now I'll have to work backwards. So this can be maximum 20, right? That area can be maximum 20, which means one of these areas, in fact, this cannot change because the moment I put 20 here, it will fix these three values. So this has to become 40. If I'm going to put 20 there, this has to become 40. That means 100 will get over here. The maximum I can have here is how much? I'm looking for your responses if you're there in the live session. 100 will get over here. So what is the maximum I can have here? 60. So this range is going to be between 40 and 60, not 0 and 100 as we blindly thought earlier. So I can just write it as 40 to 60 is the range. It's not 0 to 100. Now that I've got the range as 40 to 60, I would not even bothering solving it for P because P even if our blind range is going to be practically possible, it's only going to be 0 to 20. So that 0 to 20, the 20 difference I've already got here. I just have to find out whether I can get a difference of more than 20 when I go for this range. Okay, now we have solved a part of it in the previous questions itself, but I'm going to repeat that for this question. Okay, we have definitely solved some of this in the previous question, but let's do it afresh for this question. So let me get rid of this 40, 20 and all that, which we used for getting the ranges of math. I'm going to redo for chemistry. Okay, if I redo for chemistry, now is it possible to have a 0? Okay, if I have to have a 0 here, let's say I'm starting with a 0 here. Okay, then sum of these two should give me 60 because C2 should be equal to 60. So sum of these two should be 60 would mean, let's say I'm putting 60 here. That case, this will become 0. So 0, 0 and 60. Right, so 0, 0 and 60. Now I'll have to put 0 here as well because C2 60 already got satisfied, which means this will be 20 and 60 plus 60, 120 is over. So this has to be 14. Now let's quickly check whether 160, 120, 80 and 180 are getting satisfied or not. 120 getting satisfied. 160, 120 plus 40 satisfied. 80 satisfied. 180. So the whole thing is 120, 40 plus 60. Sorry, 40 plus 20, 60, 120 plus 60, we are getting 180 as well. So everything is getting satisfied. So 0 is practically possible. So let me just put a tick mark for that 0. The 0 is practically possible. Now we'll have to see whether the 60 is practically possible or not. Let's quickly do that. As I said, we have solved this in one of the previous questions, but I want to treat this question as an independent question without taking knowledge from any of the previous questions and solve. Okay, so 0 is possible. Let's see what is a maximum. Okay, if I have to put a maximum, then maximum I can put 60 here. Just a minute. Okay, I can think of putting 60 here. If I put a 60, then immediately these two will become 0. Now that will demand a 60 for this place because C to 60 has to be satisfied. But I cannot have 60 here because this green circle can only hold 80. So I'll have to work backwards now. So this will have to become 20 at max. It cannot go to 60. And if it becomes 20, this and this 0 will be fixed. As a result, this has to become 40. So 60 plus 40. So what is the maximum I can have here then? I'm looking for your responses. If this is going to get fixed at 60, 40 and 0, what is the maximum I can have here? 20. It cannot go beyond that. So the maximum I can have here is only 20. It's not 60 like we thought before. So this is going to be 20. So 0 till 20 that we already got 40 to 60, right? So irrespective of which of these you're going to take, the maximum possible difference between P and Q is going to be 20. Please type 4 if everybody is clear with the fourth question as well. Awesome. So I'm going to stop here. That's our short burst of DILR for today morning. Tomorrow we're going to discuss paragraph jumbles without options. I look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's session as to how you guys are going to respond for paragraph jumbles without options. Okay. Please like this video in case you liked this session. It helps us to reach more students, and you can also leave some feedback in the comments. It helps us to understand what you felt about this session. Okay. So have a great day, guys. I'll catch up with you guys in the live session tomorrow.